this is Alex for the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. For more videos like this, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and find our weekly Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts.
So that moves us into our next segment, and I'm not going to lie, guys, I'm actually pretty excited about this one, where we've got retire, rehire, or new hire. So we're going to go through the list here of the quarterback carousel, and we're going to start with one that we already know the results of, right? Eli Manning was going to be a free agent out there. He already decided to retire, so we can mark that one up there as a retire. So, guys, moving on to Tom Brady, and the Twitter polls show him at an 8% retire, a 71% rehire, and a 21% new hire. Guys, what are we thinking here?
I have gone back and forth with this over the last 3 weeks of what Tom Brady's going to do, especially after he sent out that little cryptic tweet right before the Super Bowl that we all thought he was going to say that he was retiring, and then all it was a Hulu commercial, which was very fun, and sort of how self-aware Tom Brady is, which is kind of nice and refreshing. The dude knows what's going on. I do not think that Tom Brady plays for the New England Patriots next year. I do think that he goes to LA, although I did see a report today that the Chargers like what they have in-house following their dismissal of, I know, right? Crazy. Following their dismissal of Phillip Rivers. But I think he goes to the Chargers, and I think he's a go-between. And this is where I live, where I work, and what I do for a living is going to get me in trouble, just like it does every year when it comes around to what players I'm keeping on my fantasy roster. The Chargers drafted a kid in the 5th round last year by the name of Easton Stick, which admittedly it's a crime. He is not a hockey player with a name like Easton Stick, but he's a pretty darn good quarterback. And I think he could be what they're looking at. I know they have, other options there on the roster, but he could be a guy that they're pretty high on. They kept him all year. And obviously when you spend a 5th round pick on a guy, you're not going to give up on him super easy because you got him under contract for a couple years. So I could see Tom Brady being a 1-year fill-in for the Chargers to see what they got as they try to make, it could be, a one-year run at trying to chase a Super Bowl.
This one, though, why do you go to LA? Why do you go to the Chargers in a division where you're going to have to play Patrick Mahomes and that Chiefs team twice in a year?
Oh, because Tom's a competitor. Tom is a competitor. And with this storyline being floated out that Tom's a system QB, I think he's going to want to prove that he's not, and that he is better than what they're saying in New England. So this little rumor and storyline that's being floated out there, I think that's going to be motivation for him. And I think he's going to want to go play warm weather somewhere. Doesn't everybody want to go somewhere warm towards the twilight of their career?
I think it's easy to be labeled a competitor when you only have to get up for 4 games this season.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
True. Now, he can't control what the rest of those teams in that division are doing. But I don't know. Tom Brady.
Truth be told, though, you really only need to win. You only need to win the games against the Chiefs. You could probably cakewalk your way through the Broncos and the Raiders.
Yeah, but
what do they have to offer at this moment?
Yeah.
You got a rookie quarterback and a coach that hasn't in a new place. There's just too much going on for the Vegas Raiders now. I mean, honestly, it's not going to be easy to get out of the West, but you could easily snag a wild card in that AFC.
Yeah, maybe. But I think I'm actually drawn back to the statement where you were telling us that the the Chargers like what they have in house. I think I figured out why I think I figured out why they like what they've got in house, because what they've got in house lets them go the route of Cincinnati Bengals this last year, and there's Trevor Lawrence sitting at the end of that rainbow.
Mm-hmm. Which very well could be the deal. I mean, they could be playing for, 2021's draft. Like that very well could be what the Chargers do. And honestly, you sign Brady for a year, yeah, you're gonna hurt your draft stock, but yeah, I think they have the pieces where they could win. I mean, guys, we were talking about this Chargers team. A lot of people were talking about this Chargers team last year as being a team that was going to be in the Super Bowl conversation. There were a lot of high-end analysts that picked the Chargers to be in the Super Bowl. Some of them picked them to win it. And then they couldn't get it done with Phil. And I think there's just something about that this Chargers team, they understand, I think Chargers ownership, the GM, I think they understand that their window of opportunity is slim. I think they're trying to do it now. They're trying to prove that it was Phil's fault. And I think they're going to try and bring in a big name. Also, new stadiums require tickets, season tickets. Pretty easy way to get some season tickets sold if you.
They haven't been able to fulfill their half of that new stadium since the second they signed on the dotted line, and Kroenke's eating shit because of it.
Exactly.
Now, Brady's going to stay in New England. This is so Patriots, guys. This whole hullabaloo about Tom Brady's being linked to the Cowboys and Tom Brady's being linked to blah, 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 blah. And, Robert Kraft, this is the three-ring circus that's been going on in the last, 4 or 5 off seasons. It's the tug of war between Tom Brady and Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick, and to see who wins and who has the power and who covers for who in Deflategate and who covers for who in Spygate and who covers for who when, shit hits the fan. And time again, if you pay attention, Robert Kraft has covered Tom Brady, not Bill Belichick. Tom Brady is Robert Kraft's guy, and Bill Belichick might be the pseudo GM, but when the owner who's cutting the checks says, this is the guy I'm bringing back in, he's going to stay in Boston his entire career, that's what's going to happen. He will be back in Boston, and they will make one final run at it, maybe a 2-year deal. So they're going to try and take 2 more stabs at it maybe, and then Brady will ride off in the sunset. But he is not going anywhere outside of Boston. Foxborough.
I tend to agree, and we've seen that play out with the Jimmy Garoppolo thing. They had the heir apparent, and they shipped him off because Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't think, was going to wait around, and you couldn't pay both of them. So one of them had to go, and it certainly wasn't Tom.
No, and Brissett too. Now Garoppolo arguably, has more upside than Jacoby Brissett does, but Brissett played really well in those couple of games he started for the Patriots. That's how the Colts got onto him to begin with, and then they're able to pick him up in that trade. So I think they're gonna bring Tom in. I wouldn't be surprised if they'll draft someone in the 3rd round or whatever they're going to do, and yada yada for bringing someone the heir apparent on. But I cannot fathom the New England Patriots letting Tom Brady walk out the door, not signing his retirement papers. If he's leaving, he is signing retirement papers and submitting him to the NFL. He is not signing a contract with one of the 31 other teams.
Alrighty, guys, that'll do it for the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. That'll wrap up another episode. Thank you for joining us. Make sure that you are following us on the Twitter at Good Old Boys FF. You can also find us on YouTube with the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football channel. Facebook, we are at Good Old Boys FF. If you haven't done so, be sure to click the like and subscribe button. We'd also love for you to hit the rating and subscribe button to wherever you're listening to this podcast. Now, for Kevin and Alex, I'm Derek.